looks good. Yeah, we cool with the background there? It's your home. Do you want people looking into your home? Okay, I'm good with it. I just want to make sure. Welcome to Zips Nation Insider. My name's Jacob Farrar. We're back with another week. We took a little break over the holidays, so we hope all our viewers and listeners had a wonderful holiday season. We're back with another episode. We're excited to have Kyle Foster with us. Kyle, people have probably seen your work. If they've come to any sort of sporting event, they've seen what you do, but now this is a chance to actually get to meet you. Your role as the Director of Equipment Operations for the University of Akron Athletics. So we're going to talk all things exciting equipment and really what that means and what you do provide your team for University of Akron Athletics. But before we get into kind of your role as the Director of Equipment Operations, you didn't start out here as a full-time employee. You were a student athlete. So talk a little bit about what brought you to the University of Akron way back, I don't know how many years ago now, but what that decision was like to come play football here.
Yeah, it was a situation where I really didn't know when I got done in high school. Right? I liked baseball, I liked football. Thought about wanting to play at the next level. Didn't know if that's exactly what I wanted to do. But all in all, I knew, funny enough, I knew equipment was something that I probably wanted to do later on in my life.
Okay. Even in high school?
Even in high school,
oh, wow.
Yeah. My dad was actually a long time, probably giving him a really good compliment here, but probably one of the best basketball managers West Virginia University ever had.
Oh, wow.
Back in the Gail Catlett days at West Virginia. And my dad always told me a lot of stories about that. I always was fascinated by, traveling and packing guys' uniforms and doing all that fun stuff. But then when I got to my senior year of high school, I said, you know what, I only get one opportunity. If I could play, maybe I should try playing.
Yeah, sure.
And really went through a really weird recruiting situation my senior year. And that was the days, before the transfer portal, and you signed one time in February. I was actually committed to the University of Maryland.
Oh, wow.
I was going to get to go play in the Big Ten, which was a little frowned upon to a certain degree growing up in West Virginia. Maryland was kind of one of the old, Pitt, Maryland, Marshall rivalries in that state. So some of my family was a little iffy about the whole Maryland situation. But inevitably, staff got fired. New staff came in, didn't honor the scholarship, and then just kind of reopened that recruitment process. Really came down to Marshall and Akron. Marshall was really like a no bueno, more or less, growing up.
Got it.
In West Virginia, you either, if you're north of Charleston, you're a Mountaineer, and if you're south of Charleston, you're part of the herd. And,
here in Akron, it's going to the team up the road.
Sure,
kind of.
Absolutely. It's maybe not to that same extent, but in the minds of a lot of people in West Virginia, it means that
a trade or two under the family name.
Yes, and ultimately ended up falling here at Akron basically because of Coach Bowden. Coach Bowden and my dad were at West Virginia at the same time, and Coach Bowden had a really good relationship with my dad, and he called me and said, hey, I know we've struggled the last couple of years, but I'm trying to turn the page at Akron, and you're 2 hours north on 77. If you want to come play for us, we'd love to have you. And I did, and best decision I ever made.
That's so cool. We'll talk about that decision because there's ramifications beyond just coming to play football. But what were you recruited to do? Because I know you're historically it was a holder, but were you to hold or was it to kick? What were you recruited to do for the team? Everything?
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe just like equipment now, just was the jack of all trades. Yeah. But I actually was recruited as a punter, and I had a really successful high school career. And punting I never played soccer a day in my life. My dad sent me to a kicking camp when I was in 8th grade, basically just a way to get on the field, find a way to get on the varsity team, which I was able to do as a freshman in high school, and very thankful he had me do that, but was recruited as a punter and actually never punted a single time at the University of Akron in 5 years. Got here, redshirted. Next year was really fully lined up to be the punter, had a knee injury, just never really got that bounce in my leg back the way I had it before. And Coach Bowden pulled me aside that 2015 season and said, hey, I need a holder. I need somebody to be reliable there. I'll keep you on scholarship. Be that guy for me. here I am.
There you go.
Yes, sir.
And you think about, the holder. It's a position. It's a position on the field. But these days, you probably can't watch a football game on TV without thinking what's going on with that holder. Especially,
no doubt.
you're a big Steelers fan probably.
Yes,
and what happened last weekend?
Absolutely.
There's, kicking has a big part of the success or failure of a team. So that's probably interesting for you to, that position and how important that position is, and now how you consume kind of football and being able to kind of reflect on. The holder can either make or break those types of things.
Absolutely.
So it's probably a lot of stressful situations for you.
Yeah, it's you watch everything kind of through a different lens now.
Sure.
Since I played here in college, and every kick, whether it be just a run-of-the-mill college football game or every NFL game, it's something I look for because just that slightest bit of a miss of a spot on a hold can throw off the whole operation.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it really wasn't so much the hold in that Ravens Steelers game the other night, but you could see where he hit behind the ball pretty well.
Yeah,
it never really had a chance. So.
Interesting. So thinking back at your playing days, what was kind of your favorite memory? What was some just the top thing that you take away from your experience as a member of the Zips football team?
Yeah, I think there were a couple things that really would stand out to me at the end of the day. I think. Probably the most proud thing I am of being an Akron football player during my time is that when we got here and I came in with 25 or 30 other guys, which we don't get that anymore, but I think the best thing was that we wanted to leave the University of Akron, the football team, better leaving it than when we found it.
Yeah.
And I thought we really did that, being able to get to 2 bowls, winning a bowl game, the first one in school history, getting back to a MAC championship game. I thought all of that was really, something to really be proud of. I've got a lot of really fond memories with, all of those, players and just all those different situations. But, truthfully, one of my favorite just kind of odd memories that I had, my very first game that I played in, I had traveled my first year, but I never got on the field. But my very first game I played in was actually at Oklahoma.
At Oklahoma. Oh, my goodness.
And they're 6th in the country. I think they ended up having like 11 draft picks that year or something. They played in the Rose Bowl. But the funniest thing was I'm out in pregame, and we're out there doing our kicking stuff and all that type of good deal. And at this time, I'm still punting. Getting my kicks in before the game starts. And I'm like backing up, trying to get, space to get the snap. And I just totally back up into Baker Mayfield.
Oh, my goodness.
As he's like warming up on the other side of the field. It was his first game at Oklahoma, transferring over from Texas Tech.
Yeah.
And bumped into him, and he turned around, and we just shared this like kind of look at each other, and then he shook my hand, and he told me good luck. And to this day, because of what Baker's went on to do, I've always, even being a Steeler fan, when he was a Browns player, I always just kind of had this little piece of my heart that always cheers for Baker. He was a really nice guy to a kicker in kind of a weird interaction.
Yeah. Oh, what a cool story. Yeah, you're right. It's just sometimes, to your point, the bowl games, those are great, the success you had, but also just that little thing, that personal, that's just you. You're the only one that can share that particular experience. What a cool memory that you have, your time football player. All right, so you finish your time here, eligibility runs out. Somehow, how does it go to now you're the director of equipment operations? How did that conversation happen with you that, maybe this is something I want to do?
Yeah, it happened really, really quickly. I actually played my 5th year as a graduate student.
Okay.
And was very fortunate my whole time here to be on scholarship and to be very well taken care of by our athletic department. And I played that final year, and I had like 6 credits left to get my master's. And I thought, well, I really probably should finish this, right? If I've done all this, my parents would probably be really happy if I just went ahead and got this thing done. So I started looking around campus, like, well, where could I get a GA spot to finish up? Well, just crazy enough, athletics equipment, we used to be across the way, had an opening.
Okay.
So I came down, talked to those guys, obviously knew them a lot from playing.
Yeah.
I told them I was interested in it. They said, well, we got nobody else, so if you want to do it,
wow,
let's do it. So did it. 4 months, 5 months, till about May. In May, the guy that was here in the director's role took another job.
Okay.
Larry Williams, who I'm forever grateful for,
absolutely.
Obviously. His passing there
recently,
a couple months ago, just horrible news, and forever grateful of Larry for giving me my real opportunity to still be here today. And Larry called me. I'll never forget that conversation. He said, hey, job's open. We're going to go through the process, obviously, to post it and everything of that nature, but we know you love Akron and you care about this place, and you know football as well as anybody because you just got done playing. if you want to do it, we'd like to have you. Here we are, still sitting. So
that's just, again, these series of events that in your life, and then you'll kind of touch a little bit on the personal side. Your wife is on the swim team here.
Yes.
So like that decision, and this is what I was thinking about as I was kind of prepping for our interview today, is this decision to come to Akron, right? You could have, Maryland was in the picture.
Sure.
Maryland could have happened.
Sure.
It's just kind of crazy how it all worked out for you.
It really is, and I tell people all the time it's the best decision I ever made. I mean, to not only get the memories of playing and being a part of bowl games and such, as we said, but to get a couple degrees out of it, to have a job, to have met my wife. We just welcomed our daughter into the world a little over a year ago. I mean, so just to have all of those things, simply just deciding to come play football at Akron. Akron will forever be really my second home and really my new home.
It's like that movie Sliding Doors, it happens. Yeah. You just signed a piece of paper, letter of intent to come play football, and yet what happened? So
led to all this stuff.
It's just kind of cool. It's
magical.
It is. I call it celestial mechanics.
Yeah.
Just the stars aligning.
Yes.
It's just a pretty cool story. So transition. So this was within a year of you finishing up your football career. You're offered the opportunity to come be the director of operations. So let's talk a little bit about what that means from an equipment perspective. I think, obviously for football, we think of the pads and the helmet, all that kind of stuff, but you do more than just football out of this space that we're in here.
Sure.
So talk about what equipment, I guess basically, what is your job? What do you do? What
is my job? Yeah, it's a broad question because there's a lot that goes into it.
Sure.
Everything from just your typical daily laundry that we operate, for all of our, athletic teams here, to obviously, as you see behind me, an inventory management system,
sure.
That allows us to keep track of everything that we have. Football, obviously, being our big beast with, helmets, shoulder pads, and just all of the additional equipment that is needed for that sport. But, really it's the jack of all trades in athletics. I tell people you get to see every ounce of everything that college athletics has to offer. If you want to see that, do equipment.
Yeah.
Because we do a little bit of everything. I mean, from ordering to budgeting to just everything. Getting with teams, what are the needs, designing uniforms, designing helmets, giving feedback to vendors to let them know what's working, what's not working. And ultimately, player safety is the number one component.
I was going to ask about that. You got to stay up on the technology, right?
It.
Specifically on the football side, with the helmets and the concussion and all that kind of stuff. We'll maybe get into that in a little bit, but so for your role, it's a little bit of everything that comes through, because all sports essentially go through your office.
Sure.
It's not just football. So do you have a team? Is it just you that does that, or do you have a team?
I have a team, yeah. Okay. I have 2 people that work with
me,
plus a just incredible group of student managers that work for me now, and that kind of rotates different people every year. I've been so fortunate to have some of the best student managers, I'm telling you, Jacob, in the country. Like, I've told guys some years I would put my crew up against anybody in the country. I've got guys that are working all over the very now in this profession, which makes me, excited when
kind of a lineage, so to speak.
Very,
cool.
It's very rewarding. Tyler Dorsey, who was actually the very first student I ever hired, is my full-time assistant here right now. And then I have guys like Matt Alberson, who's full-time with Toledo football, Jared Twitty, who's full-time with Marshall football. I had Matt Bevan, who was full-time with Marshall football. I have Cade Brody, who didn't necessarily take the equipment route, but he's a defensive line coach over at St. Vincent St. Mary right now, so we were able to plug him into the the football light. So it's just really cool to see all those people that work for you, let them pay off too.
Yeah, I can imagine. So let's talk. One of the questions I wanted to find out is, are there misconceptions, like people that just don't get right when it comes to equipment? Like, are there things that people assume that, well, first off, you're probably always decked out in stuff, but like, what, any misconceptions when it comes to equipment for
I think I could give you 2 of them.
Okay,
I think give you 2 really good ones. I think that probably from a player's standpoint, from a player safety standpoint, even from a concussion, shoulder pads, helmet, that type of a deal, I think there is a huge misconception that, helmets prevent concussions. They don't.
Okay.
Ultimately, at the end of the day, they're obviously the most protective piece that a guy can wear. But what a lot of people don't understand is these guys are 18, 19, 20, 21 years old. We can only fit them in this room. when they take that helmet and walk out on the field, they have ability to adjust the chin strap.
Got it.
They have ability to adjust different components of the helmet that can make it unsafe.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of guys like to wear it a lot looser. Look at what Aaron Rodgers wears right now. You know, the little small, thin chin strap, right? That's not protecting anybody. But, you know, a lot of people think that just because they were fit to standard, that means they should never get hurt. That could probably be farther from the truth. Purely, too, a lot of times the way they tackle, the way they play the game, that has a lot to do with injury a lot of times. I think the second one, probably from a gear standpoint, is everybody thinks you're the equipment manager. You get it all. And I'm not going to say that we don't, right? Because I do have my fair share of stuff. I'm not going to tell you that I don't. Everyone's like, man, I'd love to see your closet at home. You can look at my closet in my office. The truth of the matter is, probably 90% of it still got tags on it from 4 or 5 years ago. I am very much, I got 3, 4, 5 pieces that I love to wear. When we made this transition to Nike 5 years ago, I'm still wearing things from 5 years ago. This one is actually from 3 or 4 years ago. I've got the pieces I like. Those are the pieces I wear. But everybody's got this, you know, well, you could wear a different piece of clothing every day. I'm not saying I couldn't, but I don't.
Got it. Yeah, because I think a lot of people think probably in your role, you get the whatever you want. But, you know, obviously there's costs associated with that, right? Just because we're a Nike school here doesn't necessarily mean that everything's available. There's costs associated with it. We're not going to go into the budgets and all that kind of thing, but you did mention that transition from Adidas to Nike. How were you part of that process? Were you brought in at some point in that conversation, or?
I was actually very involved with it, and it was actually kind of in a weird situation where at the time Larry Williams, our athletic director, had actually at that time stepped away from being the AD here, and we were in the process of bringing Charles Guthrie in, but there was like a 2 or 3 month gap there where nobody was here, and I kind of got thrown in the fire a little bit, you know, like give your 2 cents and start crunching some numbers and see what this would look like. So I was actually far more involved than I probably would have ever thought. Learned some stuff through that process that I would have never thought I would learn during my time doing this, but stuff that I think has actually made me a better equipment manager over time. So very fortunate people felt, you know, that I was responsible enough to help carry out that transition at the time.
So what does the role of equipment, you know, we have students coming in, they're coming to see, we're in the field house today filming, they see the facilities, and a lot of times when we talk with students about what brought them, student athletes, what brought them to campus, they love the facilities. Oh, the facilities are fantastic. Where does equipment, not necessarily the pads per se, but maybe the whole picture, so to speak, where does that kind of fit into the recruiting, you know, the process? Do you get, when students come, do you meet a potential student athlete to talk about that type of stuff?
Yeah, you know, we're probably far more hands-on with like football and basketball, probably more than anything else. But to every sport, to a certain degree, the swoosh carries a lot of clout, and it's crazy. I guess when we were Adidas, I didn't even necessarily realize how much that little mark does actually just change perception of a young lady or a young man's mind. And, you know, we actually, my assistant Tyler's up doing some photo shoots right now with the transfer portal football players. And, you know, it's funny, they get here and they've got questions on what helmets do you have, what shoulder pads do you have. But then it's real quickly, you know, how many different styles of cleats do you offer, different styles of gloves do you offer.
So these are players coming in asking questions about equipment.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's still, I would say it maybe doesn't mean as much as it did 4 or 5 years ago. Frankly, the NIL has really changed just the landscape of how kids are recruited, I think. But there still is a huge component to kids get here and they want to know, what do we get, how much do we get, and what ultimately, how many different styles can I choose from? So it's still a very prevalent piece of what we do.
So you've talked about this, the safety perspective. In your role, what are the opportunities, or how do you keep up with what's going on with the technology, specifically, you know, talking about, well, not just about football, the helmets, but also, you know, I was at the basketball game last night, and basketball players, and I think soccer players, and maybe other athletes, wear the little chip, you know, the little thing in there. Where do you keep up with that? I mean, is there conferences, like what is kind of that process for you to stay up with the electronics or the technology that goes with equipment?
Yeah, you know, there's conferences we have. I'll say the one really unique thing about equipment managers is that, you know, we don't compete with one another. You know, we're not recruiting one another, or, you know, other athletes. We're not necessarily trying to scheme one another. You know, ultimately for us, it's player safety and student athlete experience. So we're very friendly in this business.
Yeah,
We get to know each other really well. Different visiting teams come in here. We always like to get together. I think we share and bounce a lot of ideas off of, one another. From a helmet perspective, we follow the Virginia Tech helmet study that is laboratory to the NFL.
Okay.
We follow that to a T. If it doesn't fit into there, we don't use it either.
Got it.
It seems to be the best way for us to do it, the best way I've found to do it. But staying up with the technology is probably easier now actually than it was 5 years ago, because our strength and conditioning, our sportsmen are always coming down with ideas for us as well. But in the same aspect of that, all of our helmet vendors and everybody like that, they're selling you on what's happening in the NFL. So if it's working there, they presumably think it'll work for you. So just trying to stay as, on point with that as you can, and then offering guys, some flexibility to wear different styles, but ultimately keeping them safe. That's what we preach to every single person that comes through here.
That's interesting, because I love the idea that players are actually coming out with, or at least coming to you and saying, hey, this is what I like, this is what I feel comfortable with. That there's some knowledge on this player side. They're not just relying on you to, there probably is some of that still going on. You have to be an expert, but they're also educated themselves about keeping themselves safe. Well, that's great. We're here with Kyle Foster, the Director of Equipment Operations here at the University of Akron Athletics. Kyle, this is, hopefully it's been fun. I obviously say this is the fun part of but hopefully the whole thing has been fun. But this is where we kind of get into a little bit more kind of, not necessarily goofier questions, but not necessarily like specific to your role. So the first one that we like to ask all of our student athletes and people that come on the show is, we're going to go, it's our hometown pizza question. So we're going to Parkersburg, West Virginia. Where are we going to pizza?
Pizza place.
That's what it's called, pizza place.
Yeah. It's
called pizza.
Pizza place. The pizza place.
The pizza place.
They started with one. They've got several of them now, and then they actually just opened up another one at a different part of West Virginia. It's not even particularly close to me.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of pizza at a lot of different places in my travels over the years. I've taken my crew when we go down to Ohio University. We stop there.
Okay.
And I think most of them would tell you the same thing. They seem to like it. But yeah, the pizza place, and it's, to me, not even particularly close.
Now with West Virginia, I know certain parts there's the pepperoni rolls. Is that all of West Virginia, or is that kind of a certain part?
No, it's everywhere.
So what's the best place for pepperoni rolls in your?
Truthfully, I think my grandmother used to make a terrific pepperoni roll. My mom made a terrific pepperoni roll. There's a little place called JR's Donut Castle in
JR's in
In Parkersburg.
Okay.
Best maple cream donut I've ever had in my life. Probably the second best pepperoni roll I've ever had. Now, the big thing with pepperoni rolls, though, Jacob, is that if you talk to some of the real old school, like my grandmother and my mom even to a certain degree, these old school West Virginians that are also Italian, they'll tell you that cheese does not belong in the pepperoni roll.
So it's just the pepperoni?
It's just bread and pepperoni.
Oh,
now,
interesting.
My mom has kind of gone off script a little bit. She'll add a little pepper jack in there. I personally like it, but there's some people, if you say that, it's real kind of uncharted waters to throw cheese in those pepperoni
Interesting.
rolls.
This is the hard-hitting things we're getting here on Zips Nation Insider.
Yes.
All right, so one thing we also like to ask everyone that comes on, and maybe even for you in your playing days, but also now, do you have any rituals or superstitions, things that you needed to do? And my guess as a kicker, you probably had some. Any rituals or superstitions?
Yeah, I think, when I played, there were a couple certain rituals that I had that obviously I don't have to do so much anymore, but one that I actually have carried through my whole time, and I don't even know how it started or what got me started there. But when I played, and even still to this day, prior to football and basketball games, and most of the time nobody ever sees me, but I drink a purple Powerade before every football game, before every basketball game, preferably the zero one. I like the zero sugar ones.
Okay.
But sometimes it's even like Brian Knight over, the trainer in basketball. Sometimes it's just him making the purple Gatorade or Powerade. But that's just something I started doing when I played, and most people don't even know that. I'm not even sure my wife, who knows me better than anybody, would know that.
Is there a certain time before, like a minute before, 2 minutes?
It's, for the most part, it's probably usually about an hour.
An hour before.
About an hour before kickoff, an hour before tip-off, something like that. That's
a good
probably
one.
my number one ritual. I had some quirky things I did, but that's what kickers tend to do.
Yeah.
But the Powerade thing is something that I really
it still continues on to this day.
Do it. If you look in there, I've got cases of purple Powerade in there, and the guys know that's Kyle's go-to.
Oh, if there was an NIL back when you were playing, that would have been perfect for you.
Perfect.
All right, this is our rapid fire. So this is the first thing that comes into your mind as I ask these questions. Your favorite uniform combo the Zips have ever worn?
Probably the all black that we had back in 2014-15 with the chrome helmets. The helmets were a little marginal at times, but
the all black.
Probably the all black.
Okay. What's a game day essential you can't live without? Besides the purple Gatorade?
Besides the purple Powerade. Probably the wintergreen mints.
Okay.
The little Lifesaver wintergreen mints.
Okay.
I usually always have a bunch of those in my pocket.
Okay. Longest road trip you've ever packed for? Any West Coast?
Well, probably the Portland basketball
Okay.
NCAA tournament.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Several years ago, probably Portland.
But that was a truck, though. You didn't take a truck.
Well, no, you're right. So that would have been a basketball trip where I get the privilege to fly everything. The longest football one that we packed for, Boise, but I was playing at that time. From this standpoint, probably Nebraska. I would say probably either Nebraska or UAB.
Okay. What's do you have a go-to post-game meal?
Well, it's usually whatever they give us here, but I got to tell you what, I would if NIL thing too, Chick-fil-A. I'm a big Chick-fil-A guy, so anytime we get that.
All right, now this one you may be throwing some people under the bus, but we're here for this. Most high-maintenance position group when it comes to equipment.
In football, it's not even particularly close. Offensive linemen.
Offensive
linemen.
Not
even particularly close.
Yeah. They're high maintenance.
Yeah, and most people would think quarterback.
Yeah.
But it's really not. And some people would even say kickers because we can be kind of high maintenance sometimes.
Yeah.
Offensive linemen require a lot on a game day.
God, I can imagine. Who's your favorite athlete you looked up to growing up?
Jim Thome.
Jim Thome.
Not even close.
Wow. So were you a Steelers fan but a Guardians?
I've always been a Steelers fan. I've always been an Indians Guardians baseball fan. And then LeBron was kind of coming in when I was younger, so I've just fell in love with the Cavs too. So I'm kind of like a 2-for-1 there.
Got it.
Cleveland.
Do you have a favorite MAC road city?
Probably Buffalo. Really, I love to go there to get wings. There's a couple great spots up there. It's more city-like than kind of some of these rural places that you go to. There's kind of more to do. So probably Buffalo.
All right, last one. What's the best part about working with college athletes every day?
Just the relationships. Getting to see, young men, young women come in as freshmen. Again, we don't see it maybe as much anymore, but coming in as freshmen, leaving as seniors, watching their accomplishments, watching them grow, watching them kind of respect you more over time, and they start to tell you and kind of confide in you in ways that they didn't when they first got here. Because when you're in locker rooms and stuff with them, that's sacred ground for them, right? So you're hearing a lot.
It's their turf,
and it's their area.
Yeah.
And when they respect you being in there with them in certain aspects, it goes a long way. Just that relationship.
I can imagine. And being a student athlete yourself, it's probably just great to continue on with that. I could see why you A, like the job, and B, why you've stuck with it.
Love it.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Kyle. We've had Kyle Foster. Again, he's the Director of Equipment Operations here for University of Akron Athletics on Zips Nation Insider. Thank you so much, Kyle.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I had so many more questions. We're gonna have you back in a year. Seriously, I want to know. I didn't ask about day to day. Like what? Okay, here the game is at 1:00. What is that timetable? I mean, yeah, that's definitely. 25 minutes goes fast.